I'm gonna talk about New York for a bit. Look at this shirt. Wow. I'm a tourist. What can I say? Forget about it. I went to New York City and I had to go to a conference for like 3 days. On this trip, I went with 2 coworkers. We all got to stay in a hotel in New York City. I think we were in Queens to be exact. And we hung out a lot in like Times Square and on Broadway and on all that garbage. When I was leaving, I had to go to Boston. And I had to go to Logan Airport and we took a short flight over. It's like a 45-minute flight. It's like the easiest flight in the world. We went over to New York City. But we're in the airport. And I have this problem because I'm this big guy, you know, I'm like a 6'5" guy. I'm big. I don't know why, but that's threatening at airports. But I go through security, and security's easy. It's like, oh, show your ID, you walk through. And they're like, all right, now take off your belt, take off your shoes, do all that stuff. I go through the scanner, you know, and when you go through the scanner, they have you stand up, they have you put your arms up like this, and the thing spins around, and then they're like, okay, you're good. But I go through the scanner, and there's this big beep. I'm like, oh, that's not good. I've never heard that before. And I walk out, and I look at the guy, and the guy looks me in the eyes, and he says, what's in your pants? I look over at the screen, and they have like this infrared-looking thing on a silhouette, and the only thing lit up in red is my balls. Everyone like, the only thing lit up in red is my balls. There's just a big circle on my cock. And my whole face turns red. I have nothing in my pants. I'm not wearing anything. I look over at the guy, and he's looking at me dead in the eyes like... He says, are you hiding something in your pants? I was like, well, no. And then he puts on a pair of gloves and says, step aside. I go, oh no. And my coworker is standing way ahead of me. She's looking back at me laughing. And he's like, don't worry, I'm going to use the back of my hand. And I promise you, he did everything except use the back of his hand. So I stood there, like, in line. They didn't take me into another room or anything. I don't have to take off my pants or anything. But the guy starts at, like, my inner thighs. I'm making eye contact with my coworker. It was kind of an HR problem. I'm like this, and she's just looking back at me, staring me dead in the eyes, laughing. And he starts at the thighs and moves his way up, not using the back of his hand, and then... just checks everything. Bro felt your balls in more detail than you ever have. You just got a free prostate exam. Yeah, he was actually far better than I've ever had before. He just like squeezed my balls and my cock. And he was like, all right, no, that doesn't feel like anything metal in there. You're good. And I just walk away like mortified. What type of metal do you put in your balls? My swimmers are that good. They're like lead. But now I'm like horrified. I go get my stuff. I put my laptop back in my bag, and I go back to my coworker, and she's just laughing her ass off because I just got the best fucking turbo hand job of my life, some ball squeezing. And I get out of TSA, and we're just kind of sitting around, and we meet up with our other coworker who lives in the Boston area, and we're like, oh, hey, I just got my balls touched. She's like, oh, that's cool. And we go to board the plane, but one of my coworkers is like 5'1". She's like, hey, you're a big guy. Do you think you could just take my bag right now and put it in the overhead? I was like, yeah, that's easy for me. It's like just putting it here, you know. I have to kind of bend over when I'm in the plane. And I'm holding both my overhead bag and her overhead bag, and I'm going through the last check before you get on the plane. And then I get stopped again. And the guy's like, why do you have 2 bags? I was like, no, this is her bag. I wouldn't carry this like Louis Vuitton women's bag. I would not put that around my shoulder and strut my stuff. That is not the kind of thing I would bring on a plane. And he's like, yeah, right, buddy. Let me check what's in the bag. I'm like, no, we literally just went through security, number 1. Number 2, it's not my bag. But he lets me through, and they put tags on my bags, and they take them both away from me. I'm like, come on, because the girl kind of like ran off. Stream chat on the screen is frozen. What's up with this stream chat? Now I'm like, okay, I just got my balls touched. They're taking my my overhead bag, and I have to wait like a half hour in New York for my bag to get off the plane. That's great. And we get up in the air, you know, because that's what planes do. That kind of thing. And while we're up in the air, suddenly we hit turbulence. And the problem with taking like a really short flight on a tiny little plane is that it's always like a new pilot. It's always like somebody who's young, somebody who's like an early pilot. And the thing started spinning around. Not literally, but it felt like I was like on a Domino's pizza and they were tossing it and spinning it in the air. Like we went in like a full circle when we were in the city. And I don't know why. It was like the worst turbulence I've ever had. It's like, you ever go on like one of those spinning teacup rides at an amusement park and get off of it and you feel like nauseous? You're like, oh my god, I'm gonna throw up. Everyone on the plane was like that, and it lasted like the entire night. So now, even before I'm there, I'm like sick, my bag's gone, I got my balls touched at TSA. I'm just having a bad time. And then I get to the hotel, and we're like, whatever. It's, well, New York. Look at it. It's the big city. We're in Queens, baby, Queens. I go to my room. I open it up. I open the door. And the first thing I notice is someone set my room to be like 86 degrees. So it was hot as fuck, and I'm like nauseous. And then I go into the bathroom to put my stuff away as I'm like feeling sick as hell. And I open the shower door to check it out, and like a wave of hot cigarette smell came up. So I ended up throwing up. Like the first minute I get into the hotel. This is also like the day before my birthday. It was my birthday over the trip. So like every night and every day was going to be the same thing. We're going to go to this conference. It was going to take up most of the day. We were going to be like doing stuff until like 6, 7, 8 at night. Then we go to the bars all night. If I look like hell, that's why, by the way. It's because this is the first night I've like slept all week. But we go out and we end up on this rooftop. It's like this weird bar where you can see like the Empire State Building and all that stuff, which is cool. But then they make you like wear like a red robe. It's really weird. Like I felt like a Zamorak monk in RuneScape. And I'm drinking out there. I'm like, oh, I have to pee. My coworkers are like, oh yeah, bathrooms are over there. And all the bathrooms are like multi-gendered, so anyone can use this stall. It's only one toilet in each one. And I open the door, I lock it, I shut it, whatever. I start going pee. And suddenly the door flies back open, and there's this girl on the other side, and she just watches me. I stood there peeing, and I was like, hey, I'm using this, occupied. And she just stood there. The door never locked. She might have very well saw my schmeat. I was just standing there like this. Hey, occupied! Occupied! Stop! And that was essentially the first day. That was basically all that happened the first day. We got some food somewhere. I don't really remember. There's these I Heart New York shops that are scams everywhere, you know? She was watching. She just stood there and was like, I think she was like drunk out of her mind. Just stood and watched me piss, like. Next day comes around. It's my birthday. We go to the conference. And art conferences are super weird. Like digital art and like graphics and all that stuff. First of all, they're really boring. Like the problem with any work conference in general, you can go to any expo, whatever it is, however big the company that hosts it or however big the sponsors are. It's not like going to a VidCon or a Comic-Con or any of those. Because instead of going around and like seeing what people are working on and meeting all these big whatever, it's like big companies trying to shell out how great they are and what they've been doing. You know, which is way more boring. But also, they're just trying to sell you stuff. And they cover it up with like, oh, you're networking. Meanwhile, I don't want to talk to any person there. They're all weirdos. I work at a conference center and can confirm this is true. It is. It is. It's like you hand out notebooks and you hand out your merch and you give out your business card. Nobody's going to call you. They just do that because it's like a formality. It's like, oh, I met someone. We're going to work together. And you don't work together. And then like a big speaker comes up and it's like this big important business person. And they're like, our company's been doing great. Do you want tips on how to do it? Well, we don't want to give that away. So we're just going to talk about how great we are. Also, buy our product. And it's like that all day. We do that all day on my birthday. I'm dead tired because I slept like 2 hours. I've been drinking all night the night before while this lady was watching me pee in the bathroom. I go back to the hotel and we're like, okay, let's like get showered up and we'll just go back out for like a birthday dinner. And I take a shower and I'm standing there sopping wet in like my bath towel. And I hear banging on the door. And I knew right away, I was like, oh, it's probably room service, whatever. So I'm sitting there in my bath towel. I'm like, no, somebody's in here. It's all right. I don't need room service. Thank you. And then the banging continues. It's just boop, 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 boop. Room service. I'm like, oh, fuck. So I open the door like a crack in my bath towel. I'm like, hi, I'm all set. Thank you. No, thank you. I'm good. And the lady pulls open the door. It's like this tiny little foreign woman. She didn't speak any English. And she was just like, oh, no, room service. I'm like, no, I don't need the room service. I'm okay. I'm like sopping wet in a bath towel. I'm like, no, I'm okay. I don't need the room service. And then she was like, do you English? Do you Spanish? I was like, nope, don't speak Spanish. Don't need room service, lady. I'm all set. I'm soaked in a bath towel. I'm good. And then she went, oh, no. And she takes out her phone and makes like a phone call. I was like, what's happening? Like, what? Why does it? I'm literally like naked. And she's on the phone with another person who speaks Spanish, and she's like, English! No hablo español! And then on the other end, you can hear the person like groan, like, oh my god, this guy doesn't... I don't know what they're saying. I don't have a clue. Like, that's the only part I could make out. I'm like, oh my god, she doesn't know that I'm like trying not to get room service. And then she like puts her foot in the door again in her hand. She's like, room service. And then some other words. And I'm like, no, I'm using the bathroom. And this like continued on and on and on. And finally she takes out her phone again and she starts typing something. And I'm like standing there all pissed off, like, just leave, just go away. I don't want to slam the door in your face, but just go away. And I look over and it turns out she pulls open Google Translate. And all she was trying to do was tell me she wanted to clean my toilet. And she held up her phone to my screen and just said, let me clean your toilet. I went, no, I don't need my toilet. I haven't even used the toilet here. I don't need it cleaned. And finally she was like, oh, no baño? Okay, bye-bye. I was like, what the fuck is happening? Isn't no a fairly universal word? No is no in Spanish. She just like really wanted to make it clear that it was just the toilet, I think. Like she was trying to tell me toilet. Like over and over again, I'm pretty sure she was just like, toilet? Toilet? I was like, no, I don't speak Spanish. I'm good. She was like, oh, he doesn't get it. I'm trying to say toilet. He doesn't know. He definitely, look at him. He needs his toilet clean. That dude fucking planted a bomb in that toilet for sure. Did you not take high school Spanish? I did, but I'm dumb. All I remember in Spanish is like la vaca means cow. But we get all cleaned up. I meet up with my coworkers again and we're like, okay, we're going to take Chris to a nice place for his birthday. But we had to go to this networking event first. So we end up at like this bar and we're eating like pork and like getting free drinks. So I have like 10 drinks at this place that's just like being paid for by the conference. Doing zero networking, by the way, just sitting there by myself with my coworkers and running up and grabbing beers. And we decided to go to Nobu, which is like a really fancy sushi place for my birthday. And Nobu's great. Like I've been to a Nobu before. The problem is it's extremely expensive. So we bought like 3 things maybe, like a 2 sushi rolls and like a appetizer of some kind. And it was like a $500 rack up right away. We're like, okay, the company's not going to cover this. We got to stop. We got to stop doing this. And I go to the bathroom there. When I went to the bathroom, it was my birthday. What do people do when you're at a restaurant and you know them and they know it's your birthday? They're little fuckers and they tell the waiter or waitress, it's his birthday, do a birthday thing. I get back and my friends, my coworkers buy me like this thing of donuts. It's like that was their big dessert, was like these donuts with a candle in them. And it was really nice. The guy came over, he's like, happy birthday, blah, blah, blah. The only problem with that, look, it looks all sweet, right? It's a nice little treat. Looks like an egg on the right. You know how much I love eggs. It's actually ice cream. The problem was, they spelled my name wrong. They thought my name was Chins. So then the whole weekend, everyone was calling me Chins like I was fat. Like, hey, Chins, gonna have another bite of that? Huh? Why don't you have the last donut, Chins? Like, what the fuck? How do you spell Chris wrong? All weekend, it was just like, hey, do you want to go to Joe's Pizza, Chins? Bet you could go for another slice there, Chins. Like, what the fuck? It's my one day. It's my one day. But we leave Nobu, and now I'm Chins. And we decided to go out to the bars because that was the only thing to do. We're running around Times Square being animals. We actually had this whole checklist of things. We wanted to see rats. We wanted to get scammed. We didn't see the rats. We totally got scammed. And that was fun. Like, there wasn't anything particularly weird that happened at the bars until we were leaving. Because there was this guy staring at, like, one of my coworkers. This is why I truly feel bad for women out there at bars. Like, there's just this dude, like, my age sitting there in, like, a suit, and he's, like across the bar at the girl we're with. But then we leave, and the guy leaves at the same time. So we go to the next place, and he follows us in there. He's the next person that comes in. And then we leave that place, and he follows us in again. So what do we do but run? And one of my coworkers, like, kind of tripped. She was in heels. And then I had to give her a piggyback ride to our next spot. And we ran into I Heart New York, because we didn't think he would follow us into there at like midnight. And we get in there and they're about to like close. So they're kind of upset we're in there. But it's these 2 guys that are working it. And we're just walking around. And first of all, I Heart New York sucks. It's obviously a tourist trap. I mean, it's I Heart New York. They don't have fanny packs, first of all, which just sucks. That should be their number 1 item, obviously. It's all just shit. Like, they have weird condoms that's like, I heart NY condoms. But we're all hammered. So the guy comes up to me, and he's like, oh, you looking for a t-shirt? I'm like, no, not really. I'm not really looking for a t-shirt. Like, it would be kind of funny to get one of these, but I don't want to waste the money. It's like $40. And he's like, or one of my coworkers is like, yeah, he is. He's looking for a size extra small. Isn't that right, Chins? And I was like, I'm not Chins. And he was like, no, your friend here, he is a big, strong man. He cannot wear an extra small. He needs XL, double XL. And then suddenly something triggered in my head that was like, he thinks that I'm big and muscular. I will buy anything in the world from this man. This is the greatest salesman of all time. He complimented my muscles. So immediately I was like, no, I should probably get a shirt. And he was like, what would you like, XL? I was like, yeah, an XL will fit. And my coworker was like, no, I think that's too small for Chins. Chins should probably go up. He was like, oh, his big arms, he should probably have a double X. I was like, yes, no, my arms are so big, correct, yes, so I'm gonna get a double XL. And I spent $40 fucking on this t-shirt that's way too big for me. It's like a dress on me. And I got back probably around midnight last night, but I'm like dead tired and I'm behind on everything. Like today I was like, I'm gonna go to the grocery store. I'm gonna go get groceries because I haven't had food at my apartment in 3 days since I've been in New York. And I go down to the garage and somebody parks their car sideways in front of the garage door so I can't leave. So I'm starving. I'm starving and upset. But that was New York. I guess the main thing that I wanted to share today through that story was I have bad luck. And I think it's gotten worse since I got that green sweater I wore on stream. Every time I wear that thing, my luck gets worse. I get touched in the balls. I get my bag taken from me. I get to throw up in my bathroom. And a girl watches me pee for like 20 seconds as I'm yelling, get out. I'm sorry you were touched and violated, Chris. I mean, it made a good story. It's not like somebody was actively trying to touch me for the fun of it, I think. I hope. TSA just saw me and was like, is that Chris Piché? I'm gonna touch his balls. But, anyways, I just wanted to talk about that for a sec. I'm gonna hang out for like 20 minutes more, and then I'll come back later tonight.